Hello and welcome to Global News Factory. I'm your host Vikrant. While NATO generals were busy sharpening pencils for their next round of defense spending Olympics, Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez, I love that guy, just strolled in, flipped the table and said, "Not happening." In a move that is equal parts bold and beautifully rational, Sanchez flat out rejected NATO's latest absurd demand that member states spend 5% of their GDP on defense. 5%. That is not a budget. That is a war cry disguised as an Excel sheet. And Sanchez, unlike most of his deer in headlights European peers, saw through the panic and politely told the alliance, "Thanks, but no thanks." Let's be clear, this was not a tantrum, this was a sovereign, sober, calculated rejection of military hysteria masquerading as preparedness. In a letter to NATO CEO Mark Rutte, Sanchez warned that such a drastic hike would not just be unreasonable, it would be economically suicidal. Spain has a welfare state to run, people to feed, public services to protect. Dropping billions into the NATO black hole just to keep Washington and Brussels happy does not make sense. Not on his watch, not happening. And here is where it gets even better. Spain sees Russia for what it actually is, not some Slavic bogeyman under Europe's bed, but a geopolitical reality that does not justify torching your national budget. See, Madrid is not living in Cold War cosplay. It does not rely on Russian gas. It buys a moderate amount of Russian oil. It did not flinch during the sanctions drama because, quite frankly, the impact on Spain was minimal. And when Brussels demanded Russian news channels be banned, Sanchez shrugged and said, "We are not in the censorship business." That alone should earn him a standing ovation in a Europe where leaders now mistake censorship for virtue and military overspending for bravery. Now, Spain's message is sharp. Russia is not my enemy. Starving my own people to please NATO is. But this is not just about one country saying no. Spain may have just lit the fuse for a much larger pushback brewing quietly in southern Europe. Portugal is already side-eyeing NATO's calculator. Belgium is pretending not to hear the question. Italy is watching from the wings, wondering how to say no in 4 coalition languages. And rightly so, NATO's demand is not just about money, it is about control. It is about forcing countries to buy into a narrative where overspending on defense is the only currency of security. Sanchez, however, is betting on a different kind of strength, the kind that builds hospitals, not hangars. Now compare that to the likes of Germany or France, who will likely nod along with the 5% madness and then hold a dozen press conferences explaining why they cannot actually do it yet but totally support it in spirit. Spain skipped the theater. It gave the honest answer. Ukraine's war is not Europe's war. It may be NATO's obsession, Washington's chessboard, and the EU's political theater, but Spain just told everyone that national interests is not treason. It is what leaders do. So while NATO bosses prep their PowerPoints and demand more tanks, Spain just handed Europe a masterclass in strategic sanity. And if Madrid's defiance spreads to Lisbon, Brussels, or Rome, NATO's 5% fantasy might die the death it deserves. Quietly, maybe with zero applause. Thanks for staying with me. You're watching Global News Factory.